Welcome to Biztech's CEO Conversation Show. Today we speak to Professor Mushtak Al-Atabi, the Provost and CEO at Heriot-Watt University Malaysia. With a heritage that stretches back to 1821, Heriot-Watt University is a leading British university and also has campuses in Malaysia and Dubai. It's celebrating its 10th anniversary in Malaysia this year. Welcome to the show, Mushtak. Could you give us some insights into Heriot-Watt University and your presence globally?
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, Heriot-Watt University started in 1821. And it interestingly started as a night school and started because of a conversation between two Edinburgh businessmen. And they were struggling with a skills shortage during the first industrial revolution. So these two gentlemen, being Scottish, being practical, they did not go and complain to the government. They took actions into their own hands and they started a night school that's aimed at upskilling the people who were basically losing their jobs because of the first industrial revolution. And from that humble start, the university now has 3 campuses in Scotland, 1 campus in Dubai, and also 1 campus here in Malaysia. And we would like to believe that just like we upskilled the workforce for the first industrial revolution, we are still doing the same at the 4th industrial revolution, making sure that we know what kind of skills and capabilities and mindsets are necessary to succeed in today's world, and equipping our students and our community with all of that.
Now, that's really interesting. I'm going to come back to you on upskilling and some of the courses that you offer. But you've been in Malaysia for 10 years. Tell us about your history in Malaysia, the campus, and what you offer locally.
Yes, you're right. This is our 10th anniversary. And as a university, back then in 2012, we were looking for another country to venture into. And we looked at a number of countries before we settled for Malaysia, because Malaysia was having a competition back then to attract a global university to its shores. And we went for that competition. And the short story is that we won. And that's why we are here. And we, as a university, we offer courses at the intersection between business and technology. And we are very applied kind of university. So we offer engineering courses, data. We offer some of the most successful data programs in the world, actuarial science and computing science. And at the same time, we offer the accounting, business, management, psychology, and also the construction kind of courses, QS and building studies and so on. So it's a university that has always been existing at the intersection between industry and community, intersection between business and technology. And even our name, is Heriot-Watt. These are 2 names of 2 Scottish pioneers. James Watt, the famous Scottish engineer who perfected the steam engine, and the entire first industrial revolution was a debt of gratitude to him. And George Heriot, who was a banker and financier to the kings, and also a goldsmith.
Now, what is your student population like, and also your academic population in your Malaysia campus?
So in the Malaysia campus, we have around 2,000 students, and also an academic staff force of around 130, supported also by another 100 plus professional services staff.
Now, the key thing that a lot of parents always ask is this: what's the difference in terms of the degrees that you get at the Malaysia campus versus the ones that you get from doing it directly in Scotland?
Well, the degrees themselves are exactly the same. So as a university, we operate through one operating system. So everything from our accounting system to our learning management system to our library system, all of that is identical wherever you are in the world. Our curriculum is identical wherever you are in the world. Our exams are identical wherever you are in the world. So we have only one exam. If you are a mechanical engineering student, you will sit. Back then when we had face-to-face exams, now the exams are online. But, and we are going back to sort of the face-to-face in a way, after COVID. But the exam, it's the same paper, it's open at the same time, whether you take it in the morning in the UK, in the afternoon in Dubai, and in the evening in Malaysia. So in terms of quality, it's exactly the same. And that actually enables one of our signature programs, which is called the Go Global program, whereby our students actually do spend some time in, let's say they start their degrees with us in Malaysia, and many of our students choose to spend a semester or a year or sometimes 2 years in another campus. Mainly they go to Edinburgh. Now, this is not only a Malaysia to the UK kind of flow, because we have more than 100 students a year who actually come from Scotland to Malaysia to complete their degree. So it's actually a two-way kind of movement. Now, what would be, so in terms of quality and everything else is exactly the same, but what would be different would be some of the industrial connections. So I give you an example. If a chemical engineering student wants to be an expert in the use of palm oil for production of biodiesel and things like that, then the Malaysia campus would be the best place for her or him to pursue their studies. If there is a mechanical engineering students who would like to be a world expert in solar energy, so maybe Malaysia or maybe even Dubai would be the best place for them to do their work and to do their final year project, and even work with the industry in that locale, because these are industries that lend themselves to that kind of locations. Likewise, if someone is interested, let's say in wind engineering, so Scotland would be the place for them to study. So we believe that we actually have such a wide and diverse experiential dimension of the learning that the university can offer.
Mushtak, that's a very interesting thing. So if I'm a parent, say out of India or out of Indonesia, for example, and one of the things I want to do is obviously I want a good high quality education, but then perhaps I can't afford to send my child for the full 3-year degree in the UK. Then perhaps my options are to send at lower cost to Malaysia with its lower cost and lower fees, and then also then spend part of my child can spend part of his or her time in Dubai and also in the UK, having really a truly global education.
This is absolutely what is happening now, and we would like it to happen even more. So we have a number of our students from, let's say, India. I was actually speaking with one of our Indian students at the cafeteria the other day, and he told me that he joined us because he joined our actuarial science program because his father did his master's in actuarial science at Heriot-Watt. And for exactly the same reasons, he got an offer in Edinburgh, an offer in Malaysia. He decided to come to Malaysia first, enjoy the sort of a similar culture, a much higher, much lower cost of living and fees. And he's planning to go and do his final year in the UK, have that sort of UK European experience, and at the same time benefit from the 2-year post-graduation visa, because this is again something that the UK is now offering, where the graduates could stay for 2 years in the UK and look for a job. So it's really getting the best of both worlds, not to mention if a student comes, if a student, let's say from India, goes directly to Edinburgh, they will pay the full fees. But if they go through our Go Global program, they will get a 20% discount, because we would like to encourage more of our students to move between our campuses to create that diversity and richness of our community. So it's absolutely, what you are saying is absolutely right. And many of our students from the region, particularly the two countries that you've mentioned, Indonesia and India, are taking advantage of that program.
Now, Mushtak, you've been working in Malaysia since 1999. You became CEO of Heriot Watt in 2017. Now, as a foreigner, but with local knowledge, obviously, having been around for so many years in Malaysia, how have you been able to achieve a superior outcome as a leader for Heriot Watt? Because obviously you come in with a certain level of standards, you need to maintain those standards, but then again, to take advantage of Malaysia's advantages.
Well, first of all, Brian, you've done a very good homework, but I actually came to Malaysia in 1997 rather than 1999. Oh. And I personally came here, and and Malaysia was to me a stepping stone to going into somewhere else. But I immediately fell in love with the country, with its opportunities, with its diversity, with its people. And I realized that this is an amazing country that is so welcoming at multiple levels. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the country is perfect. There's no country that is perfect, but there are so many things that are going right for us in terms of nature. We are free of natural disasters, largely speaking. We have a peace-loving people, a population that are largely peace-loving. They want to achieve, economic and academic and development for themselves, for the next generation. Great values, great family values. So there's so much that's actually going right for that. So if someone comes in and these are things that they want to, an environment they want to be part of, and they are willing to actually contribute towards the success of their communities, the workspace where they are, then Malaysia is very welcoming in my experience. I have been here for 25 years, and I have largely only good things and fond memories to have for this place. Actually, I speak to many people who have spent some time in Malaysia, and even those who have spent a week or two, they say we miss Malaysia. So it's really a blessed kind of location. There is a special magic for it. I actually don't exactly know what it is, but I think it's the people, the culture, maybe the food and the environment. All of it conspired positively to make this a very unique and very special place that is worthy of great things. And I'm confident that we can, through education, through the right policies and the right practice generally, to keep this place a great place and even make it better.
Now, in all the time that you've been operating in Malaysia, what do you think are 3 of the most important criteria for achieving business success in Malaysia as a foreigner?
You mean for other businesses to come
That's
here?
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So there are a few things. Malaysia is actually very smart, very intelligent, and very mature market. So they cut through the clutter and they see the value. So if you want to operate in Malaysia, be very clear what is your value proposition. Be very clear how are you adding value to your customers. Be very clear how are you different from others. And this has to be crystal clear. So this is the first thing. The second thing, Malaysia actually has a very well developed systems, in my view, that encourages transparency, encourages openness. So if you are coming in, be very aware of, the accounting systems here, the transfer pricing, and be very open with, the income tax department and with the regulators. So I think being very open and very transparent is extremely important. The third thing that I would say is the unofficial or a non-governmental infrastructure here is very well developed as well. So you embed yourself and your business in what you have to support you. So I give you an example. I'm currently a director of the British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce. And this is a community that, if you are running a British business or you're running a business that's interested in British market, you need to become a member for that. Very small membership fee. Immediately, it gives you access to a huge network of professionals and also access to the government. The other society that I am actually the chairman of is the Vice Chancellor's Council for Private Universities. Again, if you are a university, become a member of that. And all of these infrastructures, I think they really help an aspiring new business or even an existing business that doesn't have much of connectivity with Malaysia. They give them access, almost immediate access to a very high quality network. So I think these are the three things that anyone considering doing business in Malaysia should pay attention to, in my opinion.
Now, with Heriot-Watt itself, you've been here for 10 years. You've set up your campus in Putrajaya with, I think, a £35 million investment. How has this worked out for Heriot-Watt so far?
Well, it has worked out really well in the sense that you can't now define Heriot-Watt without saying Malaysia. You can't talk about it, even if you ask our Vice Chancellor about what makes Heriot-Watt special, he will talk about go global and the fact that our students actually are able to move within our university in that way. And many of our students particularly from the UK, actually would come to Malaysia as well. I was speaking to few of our British students, Scottish students the other day. I met them again at the cafeteria. As you could imagine, I take lunch there every day and I see the students. And I told a number of them, why did you join Heriot-Watt? And at least one of them told me, look, I have gotten an offer from Edinburgh and from Heriot-Watt. And Edinburgh is like a top 10 university in the world. And I preferred Heriot-Watt because I wanted to spend time in Malaysia. So I think we, from a diversity point of view, we really, made Heriot-Watt complete. Now, the other thing that is Heriot-Watt University Malaysia is adding to our global community is that work that we've pioneered in the area of purpose. So every one of our students start their journey with us by articulating their sense of purpose and how they are going to mobilize that purpose, build a plan to how to mobilize that sense of purpose into real impact on the world. Every student in Malaysia does this, and actually even every staff. We call the statement that articulates this an impact statement. And this is an innovation that we started in Malaysia. And now we made the decision that every student throughout the world will start their journey with us with developing an impact statement. So in terms of innovation that we are actually doing, particularly in the area of learning and teaching, Malaysia is essential for the university. The last bit that I wanted to mention is that we also run a number of what we call global research institutes, and we have a global research institute for robotics, and we have one for, we call it the Robotorium. We have one for net zero, which is net zero carbon, for the sustainability of our environment, and we have one for health and care engineering. And all of these institutes have that potential, and some of them are working through Malaysia to really and truly offer global solutions. So if you look at our presence, we have the cold European climate, we have the dry Middle Eastern climate, and we have the the Asian humid tropical climate. So if you are, for example, wanting to study corrosion of metals, this is the only university that actually has locations in the three environments to give you this. If you want to introduce a new solution for aging, this is the right place to test it in a Middle Eastern environment, in an Asian environment, and also in a European environment. So I think from education, from enterprise, and also from research point of view, we almost have the perfect combination for anything that we want to do. So it's Malaysia is an essential part of the fabric of the university now.
Now, Mushtak, the education sector was badly impacted by COVID-19, but borders are now opening. We have also seen dramatic changes in the way education has been conducted because of COVID. What are key trends that you're seeing in a post-COVID world right now?
So there are actually a number of things that we are observing. And one of them is young people are really asking, what is the value add for education? And I think this is extremely important. And I think we as academic institutions and as universities, we ought to justify, for a huge investment really that parents and students are making, not only in money, but also in time. So I think that notion of what is the value that's being added, how is this preparing me, not only for employability, but for life, is being asked of us. And I think we need to be able to address that. And for us, we are addressing it through not only offering the best programs that are globally accredited, but also by working with people in exploring their sense of purpose. The other thing is related to the needs for the industry. So there is more need for STEM kind of subjects, data, computer science, and we are in a way blessed in the sense that these are the programs that we are running, but we are not just resting on our on our achievements, but we are thinking of how do we make this even more relevant to the industry and contributing towards the growth of the economy. There's also that need for more flexibility. So while now borders are opened, our students in China are writing and saying, can I continue learning online from China, please? Can I continue doing this? Because the tickets are very expensive. My parents are a bit worried about the situation and travel. So I think that need to, which is actually quite challenging, to offer both an online component and a face-to-face component to students as and when they want it and as and when they need it. So I think these are going to really push the envelope in terms of our innovation and in terms of our operation, not only as Heriot-Watt, but as a sector generally.
And also, Mushtak, if I may add personally, just a personal opinion, like many people who have gone through a formal education process at university with face-to-face learning, with very little blended learning in those days, obviously, but then have experienced blended learning over our corporate careers. One of the things that I worry about is pure online learning, where you really don't get the benefit of that face-to-face mentoring, tutoring, and also exchange of ideas and brainstorming. What is your response to that?
Well, I totally agree with you on a number of levels. So, for example, my own son, who I have a young boy who is at primary school, and for him to do 2 years of full online, I think that deprived him from so much of social learning that could have happened on the playground and working with our students and even fighting and arguing and all of that, because these are very important skills. And I think the same thing is necessary, in my view, for the students at secondary or even tertiary education. But the key thing is, what do we do in the face-to-face? So if this is a lecture that could have been, delivered through a recording, maybe we should do that. But that mentoring session, so for example, if I talk about our impact statement, if you allow me, the students for the first 4 weeks of their journey with us, they will go into, they will be in a group with an impact coach. And this is a group of 10 where they will explore their core values, they explore their life experiences and discover who they are, describe their own purpose, and then build plans to mobilize that purpose into positive impact on the world. These are things that really you would value, being in the same room, being able to support each other and learn from each other. And I think that's high quality one-on-one. Here is 1 to 10 in a way kind of experiences. These are the things that we will most likely use the face-to-face for. The other element that I would like to also add when it comes to online, personally, I believe the divide between the have and have-nots used to be in terms of knowledge. So actually, if you look at in the Middle Ages, not many people can read and write. The books were very expensive. The rich will have access to the book, and because they can read, they will have access to knowledge, and they will remain rich, and the poor will remain poor. Now, since we created the printing press and then the internet, we totally removed this gap. Now, if you want to learn about anything, good or bad, there is something online to teach you, whether it's thermodynamics or how to cook a steak or how to do anything, right? Including how to fix your toilet and whatever. The knowledge is available. Now, what is the divide now? The divide now is a motivational divide. There are people who are motivated to learn, and there are people who are not motivated to learn. And I think that would be also an area for us as schools and parents and universities. We need to see, how do we keep our students motivated or wanting to learn, so that that content that is available to them, they make use of it. And again, you will hear me going back again and again and again to the sense of purpose. So when we know why are we doing what we are doing, then we will be more motivated to actually learn about it and even endure the difficult time in learning some of these skills. Because let's face it, learning at times is actually very difficult. It's quite hard work. But if we know why I'm doing this, then it becomes a little bit easier. So these are the things that come to mind. The other element that I also wanted to very quickly touch on is the notion of mental health. So being alone, just watching things online and so on, we've noticed the world over a rise in mental health incidences, and people are reporting higher level of stress, and it's not only because of, pandemic was very challenging, but that social isolation, I think, contributed to that. And I believe universities and schools are also places of support, and they have to be places where we support each other so that the entire community is robust and resilient. So I think probably what you were hinting to, and I agree with you, there is a room for the digital content. And I believe there are people who are listening to us now and while they are driving or where they are doing something else, so there is a room for that. But I think the face-to-face is very important as well.
Now, Mushtak, it's been a fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed this. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Well, Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you know why. And I think this is so important, whether you were a student, a parent, a business leader, or generally a human. And in my view, that notion of finding your purpose is so important. It's so difficult at the same time, but it's really worth it. And I believe that education, if there are any educators listening to us, really need to move into that space of owning the development of purpose-driven leaders, purpose-driven humans, because this is what we really need to create a world that is sustainable, a world that is equitable, and a world that is enjoyable.
Now, Mushtak, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've been speaking to Professor Mushtak Al-Atabi, the Professor and CEO at Heriot-Watt University Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech's CEO Conversation Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It'll also be on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thank you very much for tuning in.